Hey, what's up? Sean Dustin, Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. In this episode, it's basically getting to know me and what I'm trying to do. This podcast is going to be about people like you, everyday average people, how they get through struggles or bottoms in their life, whether it's weight loss, addiction, PTSD, anything that the average human goes through, because we all have low points in our life. We all struggle. We all fight demons, within ourselves. And I want to know how you get through them. And I want you, if you get something out of this or you resonate with what I'm doing, hit me up. Send me an email. And if I like your story, I'll have you as a guest and we can talk about it. Another segment of the podcast is going to be about dating and relationships. I'm a single dad in the dating pool. I do online dating, and I am going to start trying to go back to the old school way of doing things, which means actually going and talking to people, talking to women, wherever single women are, they're all over the place, but nobody ever knows because guess what? We're all so stuck in a environment in ourselves with which we can't even, acknowledge other people that are walking by because we're so busy in our own heads and our own minds and our own lives. So this is basically going to be I would guess trying to figure out how to navigate this world that we're in now, the digital world that has everybody looking down at their phones all the time. How are you supposed to engage with that if you're trying to break away from that? That's what I really want to try and explore. So if any of this sounds interesting to you and, you want to have a crack at giving your opinion or talking about your issues with it, you can. And you can contact me at nowhere to go but up now at gmail.com. I'm on Facebook, which is first name nowhere to go, last name but up now. Don't laugh. I didn't even realize that that's how that was going to play out until I went on Twitter and looked for my Twitter handle, and my Twitter handle is at but up now. So, go figure. I'm also on Instagram at nowhere to go but up now. There will be a Patreon and a website following at some point down the road, but not yet. So, without further ado, enjoy the episode, and hope to hear from you. Peace. Welcome to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. I'm your host, Sean Dustin. Today is the first episode, and I'll be going over why I want to start a podcast, why I think I should start a podcast, and kind of what qualifies me to talk to anybody about anything. You'll have to excuse me. I currently have a cold and took the day off of work, which seems to be the only way I can get anything done these days. Monday through Friday with commuting and 8-hour shift. I mean, that takes up about 12 hours of my day. So sometimes when you're feeling under the weather and or sometimes when I'm feeling under the weather and I need to get something done, I'll use that as an opportunity. Some may say, well, you need to make money. Well, yeah, money, you do need to make it, but you also need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and doing the things that you need to do, or else what's the point of working? So back to my original reason for doing this episode is to get you a little familiar with me and who I am, what I want to do, what I'm thinking about doing, what I'd like to see happen, and basically just letting you know, like I said, a little bit about myself. So I'm 45, union tradesman, uh, a mechanical insulator by trade. Been doing that for about 12 years. I'm a father to a almost 2-year-old daughter. She's 21 months right now. And it'll be 2 in August. I currently co-parent with her mother. That relationship didn't work out. Amongst a lot of the other ones that have failed as well. And trust me, we'll be getting to those issues at some point. So I'm in construction. I have a daughter. I have a record. I think from 2004 until 2006, I was incarcerated. So I'm a formerly incarcerated individual. I always consider myself a ex-convict or ex-felon, whatever. But I was recently corrected when I talked to somebody who's in the social justice warrior world. And he's like, oh, well, we don't refer to ourselves that way anymore. We are formerly incarcerated people. Okay. However, so I really have no experience in this type of medium, this type of platform. I'm a consumer of podcasts. I listen to probably close to about 10 different ones. I cycle through. A lot of my influences came from Rogan, and I'm sure he's touched more than just me. I'm not unique to that. But from listening to him, directed me into other directions, from other people, Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson. And those people kind of resonated with me because the mind is a crazy place. And I don't know, through my experiences, I've noticed that, everything starts with your mind. You want to do something, you think about it. You think about what the steps you need to take to get to that place. You research. And through that research, hopefully you come to a place where you, A, can actually proceed forward and get closer to that goal, or B, you just say, hey, you know what? The time that I'm going to have to put into this versus the effort versus the reward, it's just not feasible for me. And you figure out that that's not what you want to do. That's just kind of generally how I would think that things work, in the mind. But it doesn't always work like that for everybody. There are a lot of different environmental factors that help to kind of form an individual. And sometimes, vital information that needs to be passed on doesn't get passed on, whether, your parents are divorced, and that interaction that you need to get, father, son, mother, daughter, whatever the situation is, a lot of vital information gets passed on. And when there's not two in the household, I guess, and I'm kind of getting off into a tangent a little bit, or not a tangent, but sort of like a rant. I myself grew up in a split home. I think my parents got divorced when I was 5, and we, did the whole. It wasn't 50-50. She had sole custody, so he would get to see me every other weekend, and that went on for a while. But there was a lot of things that got lost in the translation, I guess you could say, that I didn't get from having a male role model in my home. Not to mention, I was a latchkey kid, so I basically would go to school, come home, and my mom worked in San Francisco at the time, so I had free reign. No supervision, no direction, no anything. Just whatever I wanted to do, I did, and that really didn't serve me very well into adulthood, because it just transferred. It transferred straight over, and I went through life for the first 30 years, 33 years, whatever it was, kind of running my life the same way I did when I was, third grade through high school. And, there was involvement with the law, as a juvenile. Got turned over as a ward of the state because my mom couldn't control me. I was declared incorrigible, and that started a kind of like a long in and out situation of institutions. It wasn't her fault. Everything. Let me just put a disclaimer out there right now. Anything that I've ever gotten into or gotten involved in, or consequences, though I was the one who did those things. Nobody forced me to do anything. I made some bad decisions, and I continued making bad decisions because I was lazy. I didn't want to work. I wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. Having a routine and a steady job was, always got in the way of my other activities. Excuse me, which is like partying and, women, strippers, what you name it. That could make you feel good, other than, actually doing positive crap that would make you feel good. I got involved in. So, any struggles that I've been through in my life were all self-inflicted. So, there's no, my mom wasn't to blame, my dad wasn't to blame. Yeah, sure, they made some mistakes, and I witnessed some things, and grew up in a household that wasn't the best example of how to be in a healthy relationship with the opposite sex. But everything else, it was just kind of, things, I can't blame my mom. She had to work. She did the best that she could for us, with what she had and with what she knew, and the little bit of help that, she got from my dad. Financially, through child support, which he paid until I was 18. It's kudos to him, because there's a lot of guys out there that want to not pay for their children. But mine did. And I pay for mine as well. And we'll get to that. So all right. I jump around a little bit. I'm working on that. I'm trying to figure out how to narrow